we looked at a couple guillotines last week. So we looked at the high wrist guillotine, and then we were looking at sitting down, almost like sliding in. What we're going to look at real quick for today are two. One's going to be a seated head and arm, and then the other one's going to be a one-handed guillotine, to where we can, and what we're going to do is implement a sag position, right? So when we implement the sag, rather than sliding out, it's going to allow you to sit, keeping your head above his head, kind of to the center of his back, which is going to allow pressure to start continuously sinking down into him, right? Some of the troubleshooting things is when you sag, some people will sit back and then they'll start getting weight onto the top of the head rather than by the neck. When it pushes it down, it's like they kind of feel like their neck is stretching rather than an actual choke, right? So a couple of the things is when Ben's elbows are back into his legs, that's when we're going to get into our position where we have the chin strap and this, and we're going to start pushing his chin out, right? Once we feel like we can push his chin out, we're going to sneak our wrist up high for the high wrist guillotine. Move your head if you need to push it a little bit further out. That way you can clear that space. The first choke that we're going to do is we're going to grab our own shoulder, preferably up onto the top of the shoulder. If you can, and you can only get it to the chest or the front of your shoulder here, that's fine. What we'll do is, as I connect my hand to my shoulder, I'm going to take this hand and try to touch my own elbow. So basically what my arms look like is chest through elbow. If I can only get up here to this arm, I might take like a pseudo butterfly grip to where we're looking like this, right? So as we're up, I'm coming through, connecting, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to lift my leg and sit. See how I bring him down in? Then I can choke from here, or let's say he rolls to his side, so just roll to your left. I'm going to follow and cup, right? It's super tight. So I'm still the same thing as a normal guillotine. I want to compress with my body and then add a little bit of torque, right? I'm not trying to torque his head off. What I'm trying to do is compress his neck down to his chest and take that space. And then as I extend my lat, it's making that triangle smaller, right? So we'll go through this. Anytime you do a guillotine, you can do this like a normal, the high wrist. You can come over and do, I can't do it with my elbow, the high elbow guillotine. You could just come in like this. What I want you guys to do is get your leg deep, and then as you sit, you're pulling him into this pocket, right? And so I can take this knee down here, sit him in, and come up over top of him, right? What I don't want you guys to do is when you go to sit, and I'm going to like not use my hands so I'm not choking Ben all day, but what I don't want is as you sit like this. See how it brings this space? He's going to feel a lot of pressure up on the top of his head, right? So as you sit, almost bring him in like this, right? So practice doing that one arm guillotine. It's just going to be up, connect. You might not be able to get super deep on this elbow. Like I said, if you can connect here and his head's in this pocket, sit, sag, and go for the finish, right? You guys need to see it again, or everybody good? All right, 1, 2, 3. What we're going to do now is a seated head and arm choke, right? So come over here with me. When his elbows are down, so get tight into your turtle, his elbows are defensive like this. We're always going to be looking at attacking the neck, right? And it might be interchange. It might be back and forth that we're looking at this. But as I can start separating his elbows, that's when we're going to start looking at head and arms, right? The anaconda position, when we're coming through and circling our head down into this pocket and rolling. What we're going to do from here, though, is we're going to do a seated head and arm choke. So as I sit here, I'm going to try to drive his elbow across his own neck, right? As I do this, I can either take a elbow to elbow grip or a butterfly grip, and I'm going to use this. I'm going to step up and I'm going to use my leg to block his shoulder here, right? This is going to make it tight when I come around the corner on him, right? If you try to do this position and I just try to sag and sit, it's not doing anything because there's no pressure against his elbow going against his neck. So anytime I can get to this position and I can go elbow to elbow, I know I'm going to have a good time. If you don't have the mobility, try to get to the butterfly. If that's not good, you can go to gable or an S grip, right? Those are interchangeable. So as I sit here, I'm going to lift my leg up and then I'm going to slide my knee, blocking him, right? As I do that, I can, let's say you can have the mobility, you're going from butterfly, you can relock to the elbow to elbow because your mobility is going to be easier, right? So as I sit here, I'm just going to pull my leg over and just start squeezing, right? So I like elbow to elbow. Hard sometimes for mobility to go elbow to elbow to jump over. But the biggest thing is this is going to tie into how we're going to start passing the front headlock position to the back. And it'll make sense in here in a little bit. So all guys want you to do is I like to do a gable grip to pull his arm away. Then I'll take my butterfly grip, step up, push your knee to the side, relock if you want to from here, over, right? It's real. I mean, I think it's tight when it happened to me. Fish, your face looks over red. So when you're doing that, it's the same thing. I'm trying to drive my lat down, pushing his neck with a little rotation, and my knee is blocking and pushing his arm into his neck, right? So anybody need to see it again? Good. All right. 1, 2, 3. Back and forth. So anybody have any questions about the seated head and arm or the one arm guillotine or high risk guillotine? Everybody good on that? What we're going to start doing now, so we focused on doing headlocks. We really we understand how whatever type of headlock we're going to go in is really depending on what his elbow position is doing in correlation to how close it is to his knee. So what we're going to do is we're going to start now going from the head position where we have this chin strap and the tricep grip to now we're going to move to the back, right? Start transitioning to the back. And there's a couple reasons why we're going to do this in an incremental way. If you're athletic and fast, you can 100%, if I have this, kind of get up and move around him with no connection, right? If a good player on turtle feels that happen, as I stand up, then what I want you to do, as soon as you feel me sit up to go to your back, I want you to roll to this to face me, right on this side. So as I go up, now, not super bad for me, but now I've lost control of him, and he has the ability to get inside of my legs, start making connections to me, and now I got to fight through those connections, right? If you're super fast and you can get through, I'm not saying there's not a time to, just move around and get to the back. But what we're going to try to look at is how do we get to his back in a more efficient way and maintaining connections, right? So first, what we're going to look at is we're going to start putting our outside leg to the side we're going to go on. We're going to start from the chin strap position like this. All I'm going to do is when I want to make this turn, I'm going to take my knee and go to this connection here, right? It's going to allow me to circle, but it's going to allow me to maintain this connection. If for some reason he starts to turn, I can start grabbing, I can start going to these clamps from here. I'm not away from him, right? So from here, I'm just taking my knee and I'm I can bring his arm out and make this easier for me, or I can kind of like come close and make this turn with my knee here, right? So as I make this turn, I'm almost facing him. The one thing we don't want to do, I'll go on this side so you can see. Let's say I make this turn. I don't want to get my hand super deep right away, right? Because if he starts that trap and roll, it creates problems for me. As I make this turn, I'm going to set my arm kind of on his butt crack facing out, and then I'm going to either hold his bicep on this side, hold his bicep here. I can go to a low like wrist through here. Even if he tries to roll, I can scoot him away. So now I'm still having control. You can go to your, from this side, I can go to clamps. So I'm going underneath of his armpit here and clamping. Just different ways to control from there. But what I want you guys to do, we're not going to spend a ton of time because this isn't super complex. From your chin strap, pull, swim to his butt. Just get to the movement position, right? So we'll start that. Anybody have any questions? All right, 1, 2, 3. All right, so that's the outside knee to tricep connection. What we can do is almost the same thing. I'm pulling away, and instead of doing the outside knee to his back, right? So what I was watching some people doing is as your knee, you kind of circle your knee, right? The best way to do this is taking your knee the fastest point from 2 points straight line. So I'm almost cut this knee in a straight line instead of looping it, right? So you might have to loop it at some points, but anytime you can make it a straight line maneuver, it's going to be a lot more efficient and faster for you, maintaining connection. So as I'm doing this, all I'm going to do is now to my inside knee. This inside knee from here, right? And I can get to a almost hip to hip facing him. Still want to maintain the hand not going over this outside. You can almost sometimes go to this almost low tight waist. Here it's a nice control position. I also have his shin stapled with my other leg. So same thing. I'm going to be up, block, staple here, right? So start working that going into blocking. It's going to be opportunity to go to the outside and go to the inside. And if you remember a couple weeks back, depending on your leg position, it's going to open up either crucifix style positions or back exposure where you're taking their back. So this mainly, when this outside knee comes in, now I can start working these crucifix style positions, the clamps through, darces, stuff like that. If it goes from this next position where I'm coming in, now I can start sliding him to his back, right? So just think about those things as you're going around the corner. Any questions? All right, 1, 2, 3. All right. So we went through the knees, and we're going to show one more of an arm drag. I'm on my knees for demonstration purposes. Anytime I have the chin strap, I almost want to be like this, right? So this hand right here that's down by his chin is down blocking. So if he pushes in like a wrestler, down block, right? And the triceps are going to allow me to pull him. So there are two mechanisms for a very distinct purpose. When I'm coming down here, and let's say I want to almost pass off and do an arm drag style. So see how my hand is up here and I'm down blocking on this side? What I'm going to do is as I'm down and pulling him, I'm taking my hands off. I'm going to switch my hands from one side of his head to the other side of his head and grab this tricep grip, right? It's still down blocking. It's not as strong because it's on one side, but I'm not going to do this slow. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take, once I have this grip, this tricep grip, I'm going to take this outside knee and I'm just going to do the same thing. I've pulled him into a arm drag style to his back, keeping connection on his upper body to move to his back, right? So super simple. As I'm here, I'm just keeping this pressure down, changing direction, sliding around, right here. If you come up in my hand here, let me go for this side. Let's say I make this turn and my hand's kind of in this pocket here. This is okay, right? This is all right. Sometimes I just get down to here because I like to push down in my spirals. But what you don't want is him capture your elbow. So here I'm not that bad. If his elbow goes above mine, so push your arm above my elbow like this, and it starts pulling it down, that's when I'm going to start getting rolled, right? So ideal, if you get here and you want to just kind of secure his hip, it's still fine, right? So just work that going from chin strap to here, and I'm taking my hand, grabbing his tricep, and I'm flaring out my elbow to push his head that way. This knee goes up, it's going to connect to his tricep, and I'm just pulling him, like just bypassing, right? So we'll try that. That'll be the last thing for the day. And then next week, we're going to start working as the bottom player, right? We'll spend probably 4 or 5 weeks on the bottom player, and then we'll be done covering the turtle series. Any questions? All right, 1, 2, 3.